Hey everybody, I'm Rob, and in this video I'm going to talk about something new we're doing called the Guide Rail Bracket Upgrade Kit. Now, if you have some of our earlier guide rail brackets before we launched Gen 2 back in November of 24, it will look something like this with a plate on the top and a locating pin installed through that plate. You would have received a pinsert, as we call it. This is a plastic part. It was made to fit over that pin and be installed in your rail to make sure you had an accurate slop-free connection to the pin when you dropped your rail onto it from the rear bracket. So we needed to have different versions of those pins and pinserts and even a special plate for the Bosch Mafell rail to accommodate as many rails as we could with this concept. So we decided to change that, and we introduced Gen 2, which is substantially similar in terms of the rear bracket, but the front bracket now features these different parts, a much wider surface that we call the landing pad, and comes with one of our SpiRail Dogs that just drops right in, like so, to locate your rail. And it's fitted in the rail. It is rail agnostic. You can have a Festool rail, a DeWalt rail, Bosch, Mafell, Metabo, etc. These will fit them all. So it removes some of that complexity. Now, the kit just comes with a few parts, and it's really easy to swap out with your existing front guide rail bracket base plate. So here's how it works. All right, here's what comes in the upgrade kit. You get a riser, a bracket, landing pad, SpiRail Dog, 4 screws, 1 washer, and 2 knobs. All these components here are the same as you would get with the Gen 2 guide rail brackets. So there are 2 types of knobs included because there were multiple versions of earlier guide rail brackets, and some used a female knob that went onto a stud that was threaded through the base plate. You would remember that, having installed that through the back of your base plates with thread lock. So that just went on as it projected through the riser to control the height adjustment. And later versions had, I think, a round knob with a stud that threaded directly into the base plate. So there was no center stud, as we called it, that you needed to install in the base plate. So you get one of each type, depending on which you have. You can use one and figure out some other use for the other. Now, it's very, very simple to put this together. We'll use our standard 4mm or 5/32 Allen wrench. And the best thing to do is put the bracket on the plate, or I should say on the riser first. And that just registers there. You really can't screw that up. Make that nice and tight. I'm not going to talk to you about thread lock in this video because that's really up to you. At this point in our development, thread lock has become a bit unnecessary, but if it makes you feel better, I would say use some. Now, these other 2 screws just go in to hold the landing pad to the bracket. These screws are all the same length, so you can't mess it up. And here I am doing this in real time. You can see it takes no time at all. So there's that. And now, the last one in here, give that a yank, and that's ready to go. Get rid of the wrench. Now, let's pop it on the front bracket. All right, so we'll just take the Heritage bracket here and remove the riser and simply swap out the new one. I'm going to use the stud knob with a washer on it right in there. And in this case, I am using a base plate that did not have the center stud installed. The keen-eyed among you will have noticed that. Now, that's ready to go, and here's my SpiRail Dog, and boom, you're finished. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with Gen 2, your retrofitted front guide rail bracket now works with the SpiRail Dog just like this, which just drops right in that slot for an easy alignment, bigger target, bigger bullet, so to speak. and then lifts right back out. So it's very easy to set up. Okay, final thoughts about the upgrade kit. Let's talk just real quick about capacity. With the earlier version of your front guide rail bracket, crosscut capacity was limited by the pin. So you can see here the difference between the depth of the old and the new. The landing pad's quite a bit deeper than the old pin plate, and the effective width of what you could cut stopped at the pin because the rail still needed to drop onto the pin, and the material couldn't be wider than the distance from the fence to the pin. Now we have no pin, and you're much less restricted. The SpiRail Dog can also, be adjusted fore and aft in this slot, and you can push it out pretty far to increase crosscut capacity. And since the rail doesn't actually have to drop onto this landing pad because this is long and will adjust itself to the different thicknesses of material, you can stretch that capacity quite a bit. Now, even if you're using our new surface mount fences, so you can use your old surface mount fences as well to get more capacity either way. You can put this together with our benchtop conversion template, which will be linked in the description, on your dashboard benches pre-Gen 2 to add the holes that we've put on the far back edge of the table for use with surface mount fences to get the most from crosscut capacity. So with dashboard benches, you can get about 1 inch more capacity even though you're using surface mount fences than you could with the old setup and side mount fences. You can also put the wingman on the front guide rail bracket to extend that reach even farther. So you get quite a bit more versatility with the new setup, and you don't necessarily have to adjust the front bracket up and down. So that's the whole story. The dashboard guide rail bracket upgrade kit is a great way to improve your crosscut experience. Thanks for watching.